The night sky over the small town of Eldermore was unusually quiet. The stars twinkled faintly, and the wind rustled softly through the trees surrounding the town. Inside the Silver Star Veterans Club, the old wooden building hummed with warmth and faint chatter. The veterans, men and women who had seen battles across the world, were sharing stories, laughing softly and sipping hot drinks. It was a normal, peaceful evening, until a strange light appeared on the horizon. At first it was just a small flicker like a falling star. But it grew brighter and larger, moving closer and closer to the club. Some of the veterans frowned, curious but cautious. Captain Arden Stone, a tall man with silver hair and kind but sharp eyes, stood by the door watching. Arden had faced many unexpected situations in his life, but nothing prepared him for what he saw next. A small figure floated down gracefully, landing gently on the grass outside the entrance. The light dimmed, revealing a tiny girl unlike any human. She had smooth, glowing green skin that shimmered in the moonlight. Her eyes were large and violet, reflecting a depth of emotion that made even the hardened veterans pause. She was no taller than a child of 6 or 7, but there was something extraordinary about her presence, a strange combination of fragility and courage. Then the girl spoke. Her voice was soft, trembling, but it carried a clear message that made everyone in the room stop what they were doing. "They hurt my mama," she cried, her small hands shaking as she pointed behind her, as if the danger was still close. For a moment no one moved. The veterans were trained for threats on battlefields, but nothing in their experience prepared them for this. A tiny alien child pleading in fear. Captain Arden, always calm, stepped forward slowly, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "It's okay, little one," he said gently. "You're safe here. Can you tell us what happened?" The girl's eyes filled with tears and she nodded quickly. I came from far away. My mama, they hurt her. I ran. I don't know what to do." The veterans exchanged uneasy glances. Sergeant Milo Vance, a gruff man with a scar running down his cheek, muttered, "She's real. And scared. That's all I need to know." Even the most skeptical among them could sense the truth in her words. There was no trickery here, only a desperate child asking for help. Arden knelt to meet her gaze. "You're safe now. Tell us your name." "Lyra," the little girl whispered. "Lyra Elandra." The name sounded musical, alien, yet strangely familiar. Arden could feel the weight of her fear and her bravery. She had traveled an impossible distance to reach them, seeking help from beings she had probably never met before. Lyra's small body shivered as she took a hesitant step forward. The veterans noticed that she had no weapons, no armor, just her tiny, fragile form. And yet, there was a quiet strength in the way she held her head up, even as tears rolled down her cheeks. It was clear that she had endured something terrible. "Come inside," Arden said softly, gesturing toward the club. "We'll help you." Lyra nodded and floated slowly toward the door, the veterans following cautiously. Inside, the room was warm, filled with the familiar smell of old wood, coffee, and faint smoke from the fireplace. The veterans moved aside, giving Lyra space. She hovered near the center of the room, her eyes darting from one face to another, unsure if she could trust these strangers. "Sit here," Arden said, pointing to a comfortable chair. "You can tell us everything, slowly. No rush." Lyra sat carefully, folding her tiny hands in her lap. She looked around at the humans, strong, battle-hardened, yet their eyes held kindness. It was a strange contrast to the creatures that had attacked her mother. She took a deep breath, trying to find the words. "They came from the dark place," she began, her voice trembling. "They hurt my mama. I don't know why. I ran through the sky. I flew, and I found your planet. Please, please help me." The veterans listened quietly. Every word made their hearts ache. They had fought wars and seen destruction, but the raw fear and sorrow of a child, even an alien one, struck a chord they could not ignore. Milo stepped forward, kneeling beside Lyra. "We're not going to let anything happen to her," he said firmly, his deep voice steady. "Tell us where she is." Lyra's face twisted in pain. I don't know the exact place. They took her to a place I can't reach alone. But I can show you the way. I can guide you." Arden nodded slowly. He could see the determination in her eyes. This tiny girl had traveled across galaxies, driven only by love for her mother. That kind of courage, it was rare even among humans. "We'll help you," he promised. "You're not alone anymore." As Lyra relaxed slightly, the veterans began to ask gentle questions, learning about her home planet, her abilities, and the creatures that had harmed her mother. She could manipulate light slightly, creating faint glows and patterns with her hands. She had been careful to hide it, fearing they might see her as a threat. But the veterans, trained to understand unusual tactics and strange technologies, quickly realized that Lyra's powers could be useful, not as weapons but as guidance and protection. Hours passed as they spoke, and the bond between Lyra and the veterans grew. Arden could feel a shift in the room. The club, usually filled with quiet stories of past battles, now buzzed with purpose. Each veteran felt a renewed sense of duty, not for fame, not for medals, but for a child whose courage reminded them of the best parts of humanity. Finally, Lyra's eyelids grew heavy. She had traveled far and her tiny body needed rest. Arden carefully lifted her onto a soft chair with blankets and pillows. "Rest now, Lyra. We'll take care of everything," he whispered. As the little alien girl closed her eyes, the veterans looked at one another. They had no idea what awaited them on the journey to rescue her mother. But one thing was clear, they would not let fear stop them. For Lyra, for her mother, and for the hope she carried across the stars, they would face anything. Outside, the stars continued to twinkle, and a faint wind whispered through Eldermore. A tiny, glowing figure rested inside the club, unaware that her arrival had already changed the lives of those who would soon become her protectors. The quiet town had become the starting point of a mission that no veteran could have imagined, but one they would never forget. And so, the night closed over the Silver Star Veterans Club, filled with whispers of hope, courage, and the promise of a story that was just beginning. The morning sun rose over Eldermore, casting golden light across the Silver Star Veterans Club. Inside, the veterans gathered quietly around the fireplace, sipping warm coffee, their minds racing with thoughts about the tiny visitor who had arrived the previous night. Lyra, the little alien girl, slept peacefully on a chair covered with soft blankets, her glowing skin dimmed to a gentle shimmer. For Captain Arden Stone, this was no ordinary mission. He had faced enemies across the world, led troops through danger, and survived chaos countless times. But nothing had prepared him for a frightened child from another world. The other veterans, Sergeant Milo Vance, Lieutenant Zara Quinn, and Corporal Finn Hayes, shared the same silent realization. Lyra was small, but her courage was immense. When Lyra finally awoke, her violet eyes sparkled with a mixture of fear and determination. She rubbed her tiny hands across her face and looked around at the humans as if gathering her courage. "They won't stop hurting her," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know how long she can survive there." Arden crouched to her level. "Lyra, we will help your mother," he said softly. "But we need to understand everything. Can you tell us what happened?" Lyra nodded, tears forming again. She clutched the edge of the blanket like it was the only thing holding her to safety. Slowly she began to speak. "My mama, she is kind. She helps everyone. But the creatures, they came from the dark planet. They are cruel. They take what they want and hurt anyone who resists. They came to our home when I was away. They hurt her. I escaped. I ran through the stars. I followed your planet. I thought, maybe humans could help." Her words were soft, almost a whisper, but the veterans felt the weight behind them. The pain in her voice was real, raw, and impossible to ignore. Milo's jaw tightened. He had seen cruelty in his lifetime, but hearing it from a child, any child, even one from another world, stirred a deep anger inside him. "Do you remember where they took her?" Arden asked gently. Lyra's face twisted with concentration. I don't know exactly. They move her a lot. But I saw markings, glowing signs, shapes in the sky. I can guide you if you let me." Zara knelt beside her, carefully examining Lyra's tiny hands. "Do you think you can survive the trip with us?" she asked. "It will be dangerous." Lyra swallowed hard and nodded. "I will try. I have to. Mama, she is all I have left." Her words were simple, yet filled with immense power. The veterans felt a surge of determination. This child, so small and fragile, was willing to face unknown dangers to save someone she loved. Arden placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "We will go with you. We will protect you and we will find your mother." For the first time since arriving, Lyra allowed herself a small, hopeful smile. The veterans could see that despite her fear, there was courage shining through, an inner strength that reminded them why they had chosen to serve humanity. Here and now, that same courage would be tested across the stars. Arden called the other veterans to gather around the table. The room, usually filled with quiet conversations and memories, now buzzed with planning and strategy. Maps of distant planets and glowing star charts were spread across the table. Milo leaned over, pointing at one of Lyra's drawings. "These markings, they're not like anything we've seen," he said, scratching his beard. But if she can guide us, we can find her mother. Lyra's small hands traced the symbols again. This way, the dark path, we can hide from them here. Zara exchanged a glance with Arden. She's giving us more than directions. She's giving us a plan in her own way. We need to trust her. Trusting a tiny alien child to lead them into a hostile environment sounded insane, yet something about Lyra's eyes made it impossible to doubt her. Her fear was real, but so was her knowledge and instinct. Arden knew this mission would be different from anything they had done before, but he also knew that hesitation could cost a life, her mother's life. Hours passed as Lyra explained what she knew about the creatures, her homeland, and the dangers that awaited them. Her memory was sharp, her observations precise. She described the creatures' behaviors, their weaknesses, and even patterns of movement. Milo grunted in approval. "She's brilliant," he muttered. "Small but brilliant. We've got to listen to her." Lyra then revealed a secret ability she had been hiding. With a flick of her tiny hand, a soft, glowing light appeared, floating above her palm. It pulsed gently, showing shapes and pathways invisible to the human eye. Arden and the others watched in awe. The light was beautiful, almost hypnotic, but it also had a purpose. It could reveal paths, highlight dangers, and guide them safely. "Your abilities, they're amazing, Lyra," Arden said quietly. "They'll help us protect your mother. But remember, you must stay careful." "I will," Lyra promised, her voice firm. "I want to help. I must." The day turned into night, and the Silver Star Veterans Club became a hub of preparation. The veterans packed supplies, studied star charts, and practiced emergency drills. Every step, every plan, was designed to protect the fragile child who had walked into their lives with nothing but a plea for help. Despite the seriousness of the mission, moments of laughter and warmth emerged. Lyra's curiosity about human habits, her fascination with simple things like coffee and fire, brought smiles to even the most battle-hardened veterans. She asked endless questions from "Why do humans drink hot water?" to "Do you really fight wars like in the stars?" Her innocence reminded them of the humanity they often fought to protect but rarely celebrated. As the night deepened, Lyra finally curled up in her chair again, exhausted but determined. Arden looked at her, feeling a deep respect for the little alien girl. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "we begin the journey to save your mother. We will not fail." Lyra's eyes, heavy with sleep, reflected the trust she had placed in them. For the first time since her flight from the dark planet, she felt a glimmer of hope. She wasn't alone anymore. The veterans had taken her plea seriously, and they were ready to act. Outside, the stars twinkled over Eldermore, but inside the club, a tiny alien girl and a group of human veterans were preparing for a mission that would test courage, trust, and the strength of the bond between two very different worlds. And so, the plea for help became the spark of a journey, one that would take them across the stars, through danger and darkness, to a reunion that seemed impossible but could be achieved with courage, strategy, and the human heart. The Silver Star Veterans Club was unusually quiet the next morning. The sun's golden rays spilled across the wooden floor, catching specks of dust in the air like tiny stars. Captain Arden Stone stood by the window, looking out at the quiet streets of Eldermore. In his mind, a single thought repeated: Lyra's mother needs help, and fast. Inside the room, the other veterans gathered around the large oak table. Sergeant Milo Vance, tall and broad-shouldered, tapped his fingers against the wood, thinking hard. Lieutenant Zara Quinn leaned over star charts, tracing invisible paths with her fingers. Corporal Finn Hayes, always observant, examined the alien girl's glowing markings again, trying to understand the secret symbols Lyra had drawn. Lyra herself sat quietly on a chair, her tiny hands folded in her lap. Her large violet eyes darted nervously between the veterans, watching their every move. She was small, fragile, and yet there was a fire in her that no one could ignore. Arden turned to the group. "We need a plan," he said firmly. "This isn't just a mission. We're going into an unknown world with dangers we've never seen before. Lyra's mother is counting on us and we can't fail." Milo grunted. "First thing, we need to understand the terrain. Lyra, can you show us where these creatures keep your mother?" Lyra's eyes lit up as she extended her hands. A soft, glowing light floated from her palms, forming shapes and lines in the air. The veterans leaned closer, examining the glowing patterns. They twisted and turned, showing pathways, barriers, and strange symbols that seemed to pulse with danger. "This is incredible," Zara whispered. "She can literally map the enemy for us." Lyra nodded, her small body trembling. "Yes, but it is dangerous. They are very strong. They do not forgive mistakes." Arden studied the glowing map carefully. Then we must plan every step. No rushing. No mistakes. We need strategy, teamwork, and trust in Lyra. The veterans spent hours plotting their approach. They reviewed star charts, cross-referenced Lyra's glowing map with known interstellar routes, and discussed every possible danger. Arden suggested dividing the mission into 3 phases: approach, infiltration, and rescue. In the first phase, Arden explained, pointing at the charts, we move through neutral space, avoiding patrols. Lyra, your guidance will be crucial here. Any misstep could alert the creatures. Lyra nodded solemnly. I will guide. I will stay close. In phase 2, Arden continued, we enter the area where your mother is kept. We must be stealthy. We cannot fight unless necessary. Our priority is to reach her safely. Milo leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. And phase 3? Arden's voice was calm but firm. Phase 3 is the extraction. We get your mother out safely, then return to the ship. Quick, precise, and without drawing attention. We leave nothing behind. Lyra's small hands glowed brighter as she studied the plan. I understand. I can help. I know the paths. I know the traps. Zara knelt to Lyra's level. Good. But you must remember, Lyra, your powers are important. They can help us, but you must be careful. One wrong move and we could all be in danger. Lyra's gaze met Zara's. I will be careful. I promise. The veterans then began discussing equipment. Finn opened a crate of tools and gadgets, explaining how each would be used. We'll need communication devices, lights, and sensors for detection. Arden, you'll coordinate. Milo and I will handle defense if needed. Zara, you'll assist Lyra with her powers. Lyra's eyes widened. Defense? She asked softly. Milo rumbled a deep laugh. Don't worry, little one. We're not going to let anyone hurt you, or your mother, again. You just focus on guiding us. We'll handle the rest. Even though Lyra was small, the veterans treated her as a key member of the team. They trusted her instincts, knowing that her knowledge of the creatures and her unique abilities were the most important parts of the mission. Hours passed and the plan became more detailed. They discussed contingencies, escape routes, and signals. Every veteran contributed their experience, every idea tested and refined. Arden was impressed by the teamwork. Even with a tiny alien girl in the middle, they operated like a well-oiled machine. When the planning session ended, Arden turned to Lyra. Tomorrow we start preparations for the journey. We'll need to gather supplies, check the ship, and make sure everyone is ready. Are you ready for this, Lyra? Lyra nodded, her small hands clenched into fists. I'm ready. My mama, she is waiting. I must save her. Arden placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We will save her. Together. That evening, the veterans helped Lyra settle in for the night. She lay down on the soft chair, the blankets wrapped tightly around her small frame. Her eyes, however, remained open for a long time, staring at the ceiling, thinking of her mother and the danger she faced. Arden watched her quietly, sensing the determination that burned in her heart. Outside, Eldermore was calm, the stars twinkling in the night sky. But inside the club, the air was filled with tension, hope, and determination. A tiny alien girl had walked into their lives, and now she had inspired a group of battle-hardened veterans to face a mission unlike any they had ever imagined. Arden looked at the others. This will be dangerous. But we've faced danger before. We can do this. For her and for what's right. Milo nodded. We fight together. No one left behind. Zara smiled gently at Lyra. You're stronger than you think, little one. And we're right here with you. Lyra finally closed her eyes, letting exhaustion take her. But in her heart, she felt hope. A hope she had not felt since the creatures had attacked her home. Tomorrow would begin the first real step in a journey that would take them across the stars, through dangers unimaginable, all to rescue her mother. And so the plan was set. The tiny alien girl, the human veterans, and their combined courage would soon face challenges that no single being could overcome alone. The journey of trust, bravery, and the bond between worlds was about to begin. The Silver Star Veterans Club buzzed with quiet activity the next morning. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting golden patterns on the worn wooden floor. Outside, Eldermore seemed peaceful and ordinary, but inside, something extraordinary was taking place. The small, glowing alien girl Lyra Elandra was about to begin training that could save her mother's life, and maybe even change the way the veterans saw the universe. Captain Arden Stone watched her closely. Lyra, he said gently, you have abilities we've never seen. But abilities alone won't be enough. You need control, focus, and understanding. If we're going to save your mother, you must learn to use your powers safely and wisely. Lyra's large violet eyes widened. I will try, Captain. I want to help. I must help. Her voice trembled slightly, but the determination behind it was unmistakable. Lieutenant Zara Quinn, the veteran responsible for unconventional tactics, stepped forward. She knelt to meet Lyra's gaze. "Don't worry, little one," she said softly. "We'll train together. You'll see you are stronger than you think." Lyra smiled faintly, her tiny hands glowing faintly as if eager to begin. The first lesson was control. Lyra had the ability to manipulate light, small flashes, glowing patterns, and faint shapes. But her power was inconsistent. Sometimes it flared too brightly, other times it barely appeared at all. Arden handed her a small orb made of clear crystal. "Focus on the orb," Arden instructed. "Your power comes from concentration. Think of your goal clearly, bring the light to the orb without breaking it." Lyra closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. She imagined the orb in her mind, holding it gently in her hands. Slowly, a soft glow appeared in her palm. The orb shimmered, then rotated lightly in the air, suspended by her energy. The veterans watched in awe. "Excellent," Milo muttered. "That's control. Keep practicing." Next, Zara introduced defense techniques. Even though Lyra was small, the veterans knew the mission would require her to stay safe while guiding them. They taught her how to create temporary shields using light, how to sense approaching danger, and how to move silently without drawing attention. Lyra was a quick learner. Her hands glowed brighter as she practiced shielding herself and others. She floated slightly above the ground, her movements graceful yet precise. Every veteran present felt a sense of wonder. They were training not just a child but a tiny warrior from another world. The hardest lesson for Lyra was endurance. She had traveled far already, but the journey to rescue her mother would be long and dangerous. Arden set up a small obstacle course inside the club, using old crates, ropes, and even faintly glowing markers to simulate dangers she might face. "Move carefully," Arden instructed. "Focus on your balance, your speed, and your instincts. Every step counts." Lyra moved through the course, her small hands glowing, her feet barely touching the ground. She stumbled occasionally, but each time she rose, her determination stronger. Milo nodded approvingly. "She's tough. Don't let her size fool you. She's got heart." Zara then introduced team coordination. Lyra would not be alone during the mission. She had to work seamlessly with the veterans. They practiced hand signals, quiet communication, and understanding each other's movements. Lyra's glowing patterns were used as signals. Soft pulses meant stop, rapid flashes meant danger, and steady light meant proceed. It was exhausting for the little girl, yet she never complained. Each time she faltered, Arden would kneel beside her. "You're learning fast," he said. "Every mistake is a step forward. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear, it's acting despite it." By the end of the first day, Lyra was exhausted but glowing with pride. She had learned more than she thought possible in just a few hours. The veterans too were amazed. They had trained soldiers, but teaching a tiny alien girl to harness her powers required patience, creativity, and trust. And yet, in Lyra they saw something incredible, raw potential combined with unwavering courage. That evening, as Lyra rested, Milo approached Arden quietly. "Captain, I've seen a lot in my life, fought in a lot of battles," he said, his deep voice soft. "But that little girl, she's something else. She's brave, smart, and determined. I think she's going to surprise us all." Arden nodded. "I know. And we need to be ready. The mission will test all of us, not just her. But if we can work together, we have a real chance to save her mother." Zara added, "She reminds me why we fight, Arden. Not for medals, not for glory, but for the innocent who can't protect themselves. Lyra has inspired us as much as we inspire her." Lyra, though exhausted, was already dreaming of the mission ahead. She imagined finding her mother, guiding the veterans safely through danger, and finally reuniting with the person she loved most. Her small heart was full of hope and courage, stronger than she had ever imagined. The night fell over Eldermore. Outside, the stars twinkled in the sky, vast and endless. Inside the club, the tiny alien girl slept, wrapped in blankets, her hands still faintly glowing. The veterans prepared quietly around her, checking equipment, studying star charts, and discussing the plan one last time. Lyra's training had been the first step, not just in learning to control her powers, but in building the trust, courage, and teamwork that would carry them through the challenges ahead. She had become more than a child in distress. She had become a young warrior, ready to face the unknown with the humans who had taken her in. As the veterans looked at her, they realized something important. Strength does not always come from size or experience. Sometimes, it comes from the heart, the desire to protect loved ones, and the courage to face impossible odds. Lyra had all of that in abundance. And so, with training complete and determination burning in their hearts, the Silver Star Veterans Club became the launch point for a journey that would cross stars, face danger, and test the limits of courage, trust, and the human spirit. The tiny alien warrior and the human veterans were ready. The mission to save Lyra's mother had truly begun. The dawn over Eldermore was pale and quiet. Inside the Silver Star Veterans Club, preparations were nearly complete. Supplies were packed, star charts double-checked, and equipment tested for the journey that lay ahead. The tiny alien girl, Lyra Elandra, floated near the center of the room, her glowing hands tracing patterns of light in the air. Each pulse of light represented a path, a warning, or a strategy, the culmination of hours of training with the veterans. Captain Arden Stone stood by the entrance, gazing at the small spacecraft waiting outside. Sleek and reinforced, it was designed for speed and stealth, just enough to protect the team and Lyra on their long trip through space. The engines hummed softly, ready to carry them across stars and danger. "Everyone ready?" Arden asked, his voice calm but firm. Milo Vance, the gruff veteran with a scar across his cheek, checked the supplies one last time. "Ready. Let's go save a mother and teach these creatures a lesson." Zara Quinn nodded, adjusting Lyra's position near the control console. "All set. Lyra, you'll guide us. Focus on the paths you know." Lyra nodded, her small hands glowing brighter as she prepared. "I'm ready. I will not let you down." With that, the hatch closed, and the spacecraft lifted silently from the club's hidden landing pad. Eldermore disappeared beneath them as they soared into the night sky. Stars stretched endlessly ahead, vast and mysterious, yet the veterans felt no fear. They had a purpose and a small but determined guide by their side. The journey through space was not easy. Asteroid fields and cosmic storms threatened to throw the ship off course. Lyra's glowing hands lit the way, highlighting safe paths through the swirling dangers. She could sense turbulence, energy fields, and gravitational shifts before they affected the ship. Her powers, combined with human expertise, allowed the vessel to navigate hazards that would have destroyed ordinary spacecraft. Milo grunted as a meteor zipped past the window. "That little girl is keeping us alive out here." "Incredible." Arden nodded. "She's not just a passenger. She's our guide, our map, and our hope. We follow her lead." Hours passed. Lyra's energy sometimes flickered as exhaustion set in, but she pushed forward. Each time the ship hit a rough patch, she focused, letting her light pulse steadily. The veterans watched in awe as the pattern stabilized, guiding the ship safely through the darkness. As they approached the hostile planet where Lyra's mother was held, tension filled the cabin. Arden gathered the team. "This is the dangerous part. We're entering enemy territory. We move quietly, carefully, and trust Lyra's guidance. No mistakes. One wrong move could alert the creatures." Lyra's small hands glowed steadily as she pointed to the glowing map in the air. "The creatures patrol in cycles," she whispered. "We must move between their shifts. If we are seen, they will attack immediately." The veterans nodded. They had faced enemies on Earth but nothing like this. Strange, hostile beings, unknown abilities, and a desperate child guiding them through alien terrain. Yet Arden felt confidence in their plan. Trust, coordination, and courage would see them through. The spacecraft entered the planet's atmosphere, descending carefully through dark clouds and flashes of alien lightning. Outside, jagged mountains and deep, shadowy valleys spread as far as the eye could see. Lyra's glowing hands highlighted a hidden valley below, a narrow passage where the patrols were weakest. "Here," she whispered. "This is the safest way. Follow me." Arden nodded, and the ship adjusted its course. Every movement was slow and precise, the engines barely making a sound. The veterans held their breath as the valley opened before them. Milo's hand hovered near his weapon, ready, yet he trusted the tiny alien girl leading them. Finally, they landed silently in a secluded clearing. The hatch opened and the team slipped out, moving carefully over the rocky ground. Lyra floated just ahead, her small light pulsing gently. Every shadow seemed to hold danger, every strange noise made their hearts race, but the veterans stayed calm, focused, and coordinated. Hours of careful navigation followed. Lyra guided them through tunnels, past strange creatures, and over jagged cliffs. At one point, a patrol of hostile beings appeared, their glowing eyes scanning the darkness. Lyra froze, then subtly signaled the veterans. Arden signaled back and the team held their positions. Using silent movement and shadows, they slipped past unnoticed, every step a test of nerves and precision. Finally they reached a massive structure, dark and foreboding, where Lyra indicated her mother was being held. The veterans paused, taking a moment to breathe and prepare. Arden looked at Lyra. "You've done incredible, little one. Now comes the next step. Stay close, trust your instincts, and we will get her back." Lyra nodded, her small body trembling but her eyes fierce. "I'm ready. We can do this." Inside the structure, strange echoes and metallic sounds greeted them. Every corridor seemed designed to confuse intruders, but Lyra's glowing hands lit the correct path. The veterans moved silently, weapons ready, senses alert. Even Milo, usually stoic, whispered, "This is unbelievable. She's leading us like a seasoned commander." At last they reached the chamber where Lyra's mother, Alicia Elandra, was held. She was weak but alive, lying on a raised platform surrounded by alien guards. Lyra's heart ached at the sight. "Mama," she cried, floating forward. The guards noticed them at once, but Arden signaled for patience. Using the element of surprise, the veterans moved with precision, incapacitating the guards without harming Lyra or her mother. Lyra's glowing hands illuminated their escape route, creating temporary shields and signaling obstacles. When Alicia was finally free, she reached for Lyra, tears in her eyes. Lyra wrapped her tiny arms around her mother, relief and joy overwhelming her small body. The veterans watched silently, moved by the reunion, knowing that all their planning, training and courage had led to this moment. As they retreated from the hostile structure, Lyra floated between Arden and her mother, her glowing hands pulsing steadily. The journey back to the ship was tense but careful. The patrols had been alerted, yet the veterans, combined with Lyra's powers, moved with skill and determination, finally reaching safety. Back on the spacecraft, Alicia embraced her daughter fully. Lyra's tiny body glowed with happiness. Arden and the veterans watched, quietly proud of their success. "This is what we fight for," Arden whispered. "Not medals, not glory, but moments like this. Protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Lyra looked up at him, her eyes shining. "Thank you, humans. You are braver than I imagined." And as the spacecraft lifted off the planet, leaving danger behind, the veterans realized something powerful. Courage and teamwork could bridge worlds. A tiny alien girl had guided them through unimaginable danger, and together they had achieved the impossible. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but in that moment, their hearts were full of hope, love, and the unshakable bond forged between worlds. The spacecraft glided silently through the dark skies of the alien world, carrying Lyra Elandra, her mother Alicia, and the team of human veterans. Inside, the atmosphere was tense yet filled with relief. Lyra's tiny body glowed softly, pulsing with exhaustion and joy. Her mother, weak but alive, clung to her, tears streaming down her cheeks. Captain Arden Stone watched them carefully, ensuring that the moment of reunion did not endanger anyone. Even though they were in a secure vessel now, the journey back was not without danger. The hostile planet below still teemed with creatures that could track them, and every second mattered. Milo Vance, who rarely showed emotion, glanced at Lyra. "She's a fighter," he murmured. "Not just small and cute, she's brave. That little girl is stronger than most soldiers I've ever trained." Zara Quinn nodded, adjusting the ship's controls to keep them on a safe trajectory. "And she inspired us all. Without her, we wouldn't have made it this far." Lyra's glowing hands rested gently on her mother's arm. "Mama, it's okay now," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We're safe. Humans helped us. They didn't let anything happen to you." Alicia looked at the veterans with deep gratitude, her eyes shining with tears. "Thank you," she said softly. "You risked everything for us. I will never forget this kindness. Humans, you are truly brave." Arden cleared his throat. "It wasn't just us. It was Lyra too. Her courage guided us. You both have something incredible inside, strength, hope, and determination." The small alien girl's glow brightened slightly at his words, and even Milo allowed a rare smile. Lyra had become more than a child in need. She was a symbol of hope, bridging worlds through courage and love. As the spacecraft moved further from the planet, the veterans reviewed the events that had brought them here. Each detail mattered: the careful planning, the use of Lyra's unique abilities, and the seamless teamwork that had allowed them to navigate unknown dangers. Arden spoke quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "We often think of strength as power or weapons. But real strength, Real strength comes from the heart. From courage, love, and the will to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Lyra showed us that tonight. The veterans nodded in agreement. Even Milo, usually stoic and skeptical, admitted silently that the mission had changed him. He had always believed in human courage, but seeing it combined with the bravery of another species reminded him of the limitless possibilities when beings work together for a common goal. Hours passed in quiet reflection. The ship hummed softly, carrying them through the star-strewn void. Alicia, now resting beside Lyra, whispered words of gratitude and comfort. Lyra, despite her fatigue, listened intently, soaking in the warmth of her mother's presence. Suddenly, a faint warning light blinked on the control panel. Zara's eyes widened. "We're not out of danger yet," she said calmly but firmly. "Sensors show a patrol approaching. They must have tracked the energy from Lyra's powers." Arden's voice was steady. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Milo, Finn, be ready for anything. Lyra, focus your light to guide us safely." Lyra nodded, her tiny hands glowing brightly. She concentrated, creating a path of shimmering light that twisted and turned through the dark expanse of space. The veterans followed her guidance precisely, the ship weaving through asteroid belts, energy fields, and debris without a scratch. Milo grunted, impressed. "This little girl, she's saving our skins again." Finally, the patrol gave up, unable to follow them through the treacherous path. The ship leveled out, gliding safely toward the coordinates of Eldermore. Relief washed over everyone, though they remained vigilant. Lyra floated over to Arden, her small body tired but glowing faintly with pride. "We did it," she whispered. "Mama is safe. Thanks to all of you." Arden placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "No, Lyra. Thank you. You taught us something important today. Courage is not measured by size or species. It is measured by heart and determination. You have more courage than most adults I've ever met." Alicia joined them, her voice soft but full of emotion. "Humans, I will never forget what you have done. My daughter's courage, combined with yours, saved my life. You are heroes not just to me but to our entire family." The veterans smiled quietly, understanding the depth of the moment. They had faced countless battles on Earth, but this mission had shown them that heroism was universal. It transcended worlds, species, and even the stars themselves. As the spacecraft approached the safety of Earth's orbit, Arden looked at the small alien girl glowing softly beside her mother. "Lyra," he said, "your journey has changed more than just your life. You've reminded us all why we serve, why we fight, and why we protect. Humans are brave, but you have shown us that bravery can come in the smallest forms." Lyra smiled faintly, her glow pulsating with warmth. "I learned from you too," she said. "You didn't give up. You protected me and my mama. You are truly amazing." Milo clapped his hands quietly. "Enough of the speeches," he said with a rare chuckle. "Let's just get home before someone else tries to chase us across the stars." Laughter filled the cabin, a brief but cherished moment of joy after the tension and fear they had endured. For Lyra, for her mother, and for the veterans, this mission had been more than a rescue. It had been a lesson in courage, trust, and the bonds that could form even across the vastness of space. As the ship descended safely toward Eldermore, the tiny alien girl and her mother looked out the windows at the familiar landscape below. Their journey had been dangerous, but together with humans they had overcome impossible odds. Lyra's glow was brighter than ever, reflecting hope, love, and gratitude. When they finally landed, the veterans helped Alicia out of the spacecraft. Lyra ran into her mother's arms, holding her tightly. Arden, Milo, Zara, and Finn watched quietly, a sense of pride and fulfillment filling their hearts. They had saved a life, inspired courage, and witnessed the power of unity between species. Lyra looked up at Arden. "Humans, you are braver than I imagined. And now I know, courage can be anywhere, even in the smallest heart." Arden smiled, placing a hand on her tiny shoulder. "And we know, Lyra, that even the smallest heart can inspire the bravest warriors." The sun set over Eldermore, painting the sky with orange and pink hues. The mission was complete, but its impact would last far longer. The tiny alien girl, her mother, and the human veterans had formed a bond that transcended worlds, a bond of courage, trust, and shared humanity. And in that quiet, peaceful moment, the veterans realized that heroism was not just about battles fought on Earth, but about helping those who could not help themselves, wherever they might be, even across the stars. The morning sun shone softly over Eldermore, casting warm golden light across the quiet town. Birds chirped, and a cool breeze moved through the trees outside the Silver Star Veterans Club. But inside, the atmosphere was emotional. Today was the day Lyra Alandra and her mother Alicia would return home. The veterans who had grown deeply attached to the tiny alien girl gathered around her. Arden Stone stood at the front, calm but carrying a weight in his chest. Lyra floated near him, her small glowing body pulsing softly with mixed feelings, joy, relief, and a little sadness. For the first time in days there were no alarms, no patrols chasing them, no danger waiting in the shadows. Only peace. And yet, this peace felt bittersweet. Alicia placed a gentle hand on her daughter's back. "Lyra, it is time," she whispered softly. Lyra looked up at her mother, then back at the veterans. "I don't want to leave without saying thank you." Milo Vance stepped forward, rubbing his hands together. "Kid, you don't need to thank us. We did what anyone with a heart would do." But even he had to look away for a moment, hiding the emotion tugging at his rugged features. Lyra floated over to him and rested a tiny glowing hand on his shoulder. "You protected me even when you were scared," she said softly. "I won't forget." Milo froze for a moment, then slowly nodded. "And I won't forget you either, little star." Next, Lyra moved to Zara Quinn, who was checking the final adjustments on their small spacecraft. "You taught me how to be brave," Lyra said. Zara knelt down and smiled warmly. "No, Lyra. You already had bravery inside you. I only helped you see it." She touched Lyra's forehead gently. "And you helped us remember what courage really means." Finn Harper, the quietest of the veterans, stepped forward holding a small handcrafted charm, a star carved from wood. "For you," he said softly, placing it in Lyra's small hands. "A piece of earth to take home." Lyra stared at the charm, her violet eyes filling with tears. "Thank you. I will keep it close." Finally, Lyra floated back to Arden Stone. He stood tall, arms crossed loosely, but his eyes softened as she approached. "Captain Arden," she said quietly, "you believed in me. You made me feel safe when I felt alone." Arden bent down to meet her eye level. "Lyra, you showed us what it really means to be strong. You came all this way for your mother. You trusted strangers. You fought fear with heart. That takes courage, not everyone has that." He placed a hand gently over her glowing hands. "I am honored to have fought beside you." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "I won't forget you. Any of you." Alicia stepped closer, her voice gentle but filled with emotion. "Humans of Eldermore, you did more than save my life. You showed us compassion, bravery, and unity. My daughter and I owe you our lives." Arden shook his head. "You owe us nothing. We did what was right." But Alicia smiled softly. "Even doing what is right can be rare. You are extraordinary." The veterans escorted them outside where the small, repaired spacecraft rested. Lyra floated ahead, her glow reflecting on the metal hull. The ship hummed quietly, ready to carry them back across the stars. The entire group stood silently for a moment, taking in the importance of the moment. Zara broke the silence. "Lyra, when you get home, tell your people something for us." Lyra looked up. "What should I tell them?" "Tell them," Zara said with a smile, "that humans are not as scary as we look." Lyra giggled softly, her glow brightening. "I will." Alicia stepped into the ship first, then turned to watch her daughter. Lyra turned to the veterans one last time, holding the wooden star charm tightly. "I will miss you," she whispered. Arden stepped forward and saluted her. "And we will always remember you, Lyra Alandra of the Stars." One by one the veterans saluted too. It was not a formal military salute. It was something deeper, respect for a small soul who had shown them bravery beyond measure. Lyra hovered for a final moment, her tiny eyes scanning the faces she had grown to trust and love. She took a deep breath, a human habit she had learned, and whispered, "Goodbye, my human friends." She floated into the ship. The hatch slowly closed with a soft hiss. Engines hummed louder, light gathering beneath the craft. The veterans stepped back, shielding their eyes as the ship lifted off the ground. Arden watched it rise into the sky, his heart heavy but proud. "There she goes," he said softly. The ship shot upward, climbing through the clouds. For a moment, a bright flash of light appeared, a final glowing farewell from Lyra. Then the ship vanished into the blue sky, returning to the stars where she belonged. The veterans stood quietly for a long moment. Milo was the first to speak. "I'm gonna miss that little troublemaker," he muttered. Zara smiled. "She'll change her world just like she changed ours." Arden took a deep breath. "We didn't just save a life. We built a bridge between worlds." He looked at the empty sky. "And maybe, one day she'll come back." The veterans slowly made their way back inside the Silver Star Club, each one changed in ways they did not expect. They had faced fear, danger, and the unknown. But more importantly, they had discovered hope, courage, and kindness through a tiny alien girl who cried for help, and trusted humans enough to save her mother. Inside the club, Arden rested his hand on the wooden table where their mission began. "For Lyra," he whispered. "For Lyra," the others repeated softly. And so, the story of the tiny alien girl and the human veterans became a silent legend in Eldermore, a tale of bravery, friendship, and the unbreakable bond between hearts, no matter how far apart their worlds might be.